Started. Okay, we are live. We are recording. I've now moved chat over here so I can see it a little easier. I don't have to look down. I'm super excited to have everyone here. I love I love X-ray searching. I think it's one of the coolest things that I can do as a sourcer. Really stretches the way I think, and I'm always happy to share. As our title slide here, I've hosted a couple other webinars on X-ray searching. We've got beginner X-ray. If you need an intro crash course into Boolean, how Boolean works, how to search LinkedIn in particular without having a LinkedIn recruiter seat. And how to effectively do so. I would highly recommend viewing that one. These recordings are available. I make them available and share them willingly. So if you need them, send me a ping. It's also on my LinkedIn profile. You can find that one there, as well as the advanced X-ray. And that one we dove down into a few different X-ray techniques that are a little bit more advanced. A couple different sites such as Stack Overflow, GitHub. We're going to dive back into GitHub today. Talk about a few different options. Um, but we start thinking strategically in the advanced X-ray, some natural language searching, things like that. With X-Pert X-Ray, we're going to expand that even further. Hopefully, if you're here, you have a fundamentals of how Boolean operates. We're not going to be covering that today. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I will do my best to answer them as we go. Um, but we're going to dive right into these strategies. Really, the meat and potatoes of what we're hoping to get to today. So, like I said, any questions, put them in chat. I will answer them as I see them. I'm super excited to share some of my experience in X-ray searching with you all. So here's our roadmap. We're going to start with some general strategies for X-ray searching that are a little bit more advanced than just plugging in your keywords and natural language searching. Um, we're going to look at those general strategies. Then we're going to apply them to Facebook, to Instagram. We're going to make our return to GitHub. GitHub has been brought up in several of my webinars. We're going to return to GitHub with a slightly different light, and then we're going to get to reverse engineering our searches. When you can't find people, where are you going to go from that? And from that point, time permitting, I anticipate we will be able to dive into some live sourcing. We'll get to see some Boolean in real life. So first things first, social media sourcing strategies. There are really two huge things to be looking for. And I ask the question, what are the constants? You're looking for two things: what is consistently present and what is consistently not present. This is where it's going to challenge your conventional thinking with building a search, because generally, whether you're using LinkedIn Recruiter, you're using Seekout, you're using basic Boolean in Google for X-ray searching, you're telling the machine what it is that you're wanting to find, and it will do its best at presenting what it thinks that you want to find. However, thinking outside of the box, instead of just looking for what it is that you're trying to find, start looking holistically at your search results. What are the things that are consistently popping up or consistently not popping up? Because both are equally valuable in determining what your searches are going to be. In addition to that, a lot of Boolean building and searches that you are creating, you're looking at the contents of the page. And in this webinar, we're going to start looking at the URL and the URL content and what that is telling us that our search results are coming from when we put in these raw searches into Google. That hopefully will broaden our horizons, help us think outside the box, and get more creative in the way that we approach finding people. My big caveat, and I've mentioned this in previous webinars as well, a big must as you're starting your searches, and depending on what platform you're searching on, you must run your searches in incognito or private windows, because you're going to learn how Google is looking at these websites, these pages, the content that's there. This is something that I still do. Even though I source on these sites, this is something that I've done before. I feel quite comfortable doing. I will still, every time I'm starting a search again, make sure that I'm running it in an incognito or private window to make sure that I understand I'm ingesting information the same way that Google is ingesting that information that I'm telling it to do. Uh, we process, particularly with these platforms such as Facebook and Instagram and any other social media, we're users, and so when we log into the platform, it's prompting us for a friend request, or you want to connect with them, right? And you're seeing and processing the information differently. It's going to prioritize who your mutual friends are, what maybe mutual groups you're in. But that's not what Google's looking at. Google doesn't care if you are a user of the platform or not. You're just trying to get Google to find these things. So the best way to learn how to X-ray search is diving into incognito windows and ingesting the information the same way that Google does. You're going to see that information is processed very differently. So first things first, we're going to talk about Facebook. Facebook is very different from LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really easy to X-ray search into, and it's why I start there for a number of reasons. Aside from LinkedIn being a professional networking social platform, LinkedIn, the URL is structured really straightforward. If you're looking for profiles on LinkedIn, it's site colon linkedin.com/in. That will always return, no matter which country domain you're using, that will always return LinkedIn profiles. Facebook does not work that same way. So you have to get creative. You have to think about what is it that I'm trying to find? Because if I go to Facebook and I'm trying to utilize the URL in the same function that LinkedIn uses it, I'm going to hit roadblocks. So instead I have to remove features. And this is where thinking outside the box, looking at the URL is already going to come into place. You can utilize this with a minus URL colon, or you can put in all caps not URL colon. We're diving into our Boolean there, and down below that bullet point are the biggest formats that Facebook utilizes in ingesting and publishing content. And so if you're trying to X-ray into Google, you're going to run into jobs, groups, photos, posts, events, keep going. Watch. Again, that I've got that forward slash watch forward slash. This is Facebook Shorts with the emergence of TikTok, YouTube Shorts. Um, I'm sure Snapchat had some influence here. Facebook launched their own Shorts style of media that mirrors what that looks like. That does not post the same as somebody sharing a video, right? It posts a lot like Instagram and Reels, and so in your URL, you're going to get forward slash watch forward slash, and it's going to be important that you're eliminating that as well, because of the push that Facebook has had with that social media style. Um, but removing the URL features here is going to essentially remove all the extra noise that would result in your search returns that are not people. Um, th- so you gotta think here what the URL is telling you. And so what might a Facebook search look like? This is an example of what a real Facebook search that I ran a couple months ago. Um, but what might a Facebook search look like, right? You can see the site facebook.com, and I don't have anything after that because I can't. I'm looking for a software engineer. I didn't expound on variations of titles here for the purpose of this training. And I'm looking for them in New York. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to put the minus URLs, and I'm removing jobs, groups, photos, stories. I don't know if you're aware of this, but you can publish articles in the same way that you can publish articles on LinkedIn on Facebook. Um, a kind of a different platform as well. But removing stories, careers, videos, posts, events, right? All of these are going to be useful later. But removing these things means that I'm going to find people that have software engineer or SWE, and New York appearing on their profile. The importance of using incognito Google is seeing how Google is ingesting this information. If I wanted to find this information and I was logged into the platform, I'm going to have to go into their about section. It's going to be in multiple different places. And so I'm not ingesting this information the same way that Google is. Google takes a snapshot of what this person looks like, and that is Google's landing page for Facebook. So as I put this, it's going to essentially give me whatever content they've loaded into their career history, work history on Facebook. Location is sometimes on that, sometimes it's not, but location is generally tied to their workplace. So they're going to say, "Oh, I was a software engineer in New York from 2015 to 2017," right? Well, now they're going to generate in this search. Another couple tips and tricks that I like to utilize um, for finding Facebook individuals as opposed to pages. Once I've narrowed that down, because there's not a differentiator in the URL for that, is friends and joined. The reason I'm looking for both of those words is pages will use those words not generally together, but less frequently together. But every single Facebook profile is going to have a list of who their friends are, whether you can see it or not. Google can, and what date they joined. Pages sometimes will say created on, but typically it'll still say joined, right? And then I'll put Java or Python. If that were my job requirement, whatever your job requirements are at that point, start putting those things on in, and you're going to start refining your search results. Dan, you've got a question. Can you put Java or Python up top after software engineer or SWE? Yes, absolutely. You can put this in any order. This is the order I put it in, simply for breaking it down purpose by purpose. Um, we've got differentiators. We've got our job specifics, job titles that I'd likely align with that. You could put those things really anywhere. They're interchangeable, as long as you're not then overlapping your quotation marks and parentheses. Also, that's an error. It shouldn't be open quote Java or Python close quote. The search is Java or Python. That was simply a typo that I will get fixed before these slides are sent out. Um, but that's what we're looking at here, is utilizing the facebook.com site command, removing from the URLs the things that we don't want to see so that we can find people, and then putting in our specifics. With that, friends and join, differentiating between a page and a person. And as you can see, Google kicked back 1,400 results, just over 1,400 results. Google likes to exaggerate as much as anybody, and so it doesn't really have 1,400 results, but this is a few hundred. Um, and yes, Dan, slides will be provided. The recording should be sent out. Anyone who's attended a webinar of mine previously, the software is supposed to kick out the recording with the slides afterwards. If it's not, let me know. But all of this should be made available in an email. I believe it's about 48 hours after the conclusion of the webinar. If not, I share all of this on my LinkedIn, and so you can always come and find it there. So now that we've talked about Facebook, let's talk about Instagram. The biggest question that I had when I started sourcing on Instagram, I said, well, Instagram's full of pictures and reels. How am I going to find people? Right. My wife loves Instagram because she feels like it cuts out a lot of the noise that she sees on Facebook. But she's also even then migrated away from social media as a general, in general. But really, there's two camps here for Instagram sourcing, and I think this is genius. First is using your location around 20 followers. Again, think about what is constantly present, right? I can tell Google that I want to find people on Instagram, throw in all my keywords. I will probably get things that are generating, but every single profile lists followers and following. That is an important stat and data point for Instagram. So use it as your anchor. Location. If I wanted New York around 20 followers, I'm not saying I need someone who only has 20 followers. I'm saying I need this word or this phrase, in quotes, this location to appear within 20 words of followers. The way that Instagram is programmed is there are a lot of words in between followers or following, as well as the couple bullets up at the top of their profile. I don't know why that is. It just is. 20 seems to be my magic number there to consistently land what I'm looking for. If you're not seeing that information at the top of their profile, start looking in their post. Did they check in somewhere? It's probably in one of their top 3 or 4 posts that location is generating. But this is a reliable way to dial in location for Instagram sourcing. If you need someone in, let's say, Seattle, I would put Seattle in all caps, then around 20 and followers, and I'm going to find people that mark on their Instagram profile that they live in Seattle. The other alternative here is again looking at the the URL and using the not in URL command. Instagram, thankfully, unlike Facebook, groups all of their media publications in one URL segment, and that's /p/ which simply stands for post. They don't care if it's a video, they don't care if it's a reel, they don't care if it's a picture. Everything is Instagram.com/p/. So if I remove /p/ from the URL, what I'm then generating is pages, profiles. Um, Instagram is going to have a more consistent time of lumping together people and pages. But as you start to dial in what you're looking for, you're going to see more consistent results of people. Right. This is simply to start building your search to think strategically. These are things that you can do to begin sourcing on Instagram. Uh, a lot of talent acquisition is utilizing their LinkedIn recruiter. They've got some of these sourcing platforms. So diving outside to where people spend their time. How many people do you know that have an Instagram? If they're a millennial, they probably have an Instagram. If they're older than a millennial, they probably have a Facebook. Most millennials still have Facebook. Gen Z is where Instagram is still prevalent. Facebook less so. But you're starting to see the different demographics that you can target if you're looking for years of experience that makes sense for what your job opening is. So, what might an Instagram search look like? This is what I put into Google, right? Site:/Instagram.com. I'm now looking on Instagram. We've got software engineer or SWE or software developer. Again, I'm illustrating here how to broaden what I'm looking for in terms of titles. Always think strategically with titles, particularly when you're using sourcing tools such as LinkedIn Recruiter, Seek Out, or Hire Easy, whatever that might be. Try and be as inclusive with titles as you can because everyone talks about titles differently based on what company they're at. Next, I'm looking for San Francisco around 20 followers. And here you go, 626 results. This was a pretty accurate search result number for Google, which makes sense. There are a lot of people in San Francisco, a lot of people that use Instagram, and there are a lot of people that are going to say that they are a software engineer or SWE or software developer on their Instagram page. Um, this also works if you're looking for professions that might not exist on LinkedIn, right? If you're looking for healthcare professionals, maybe they're a nurse, they're a vet, they're a nanny. Uh, Finding them on Facebook and Instagram is a great way to do that if you don't have access to the Indeed resume database. Um, this is where this can really dial in, be a super useful tool for you. But this is what a simple Instagram search would look like. Making sure that you have your site command, make sure that you've got inclusive title searches, and then anchoring your location around the constants on the profile, whether that's followers or following. I illustrate both in this webinar. I typically use followers just because it's less keys to type in, but both work the same. So next, GitHub equals Instagram. Well, kind of. When you are X-ray searching, they function very similarly in the sense of what is constantly there. And I've talked about GitHub a lot before, but we're going to talk about how the anchors for GitHub are similar to that of Instagram. GitHub being the platform for social or for software engineers, also puts a heavy emphasis on followers and following. Right? If you want to see who are top software engineers, look at how many followers they have. If you want to see somebody who's very invested about learning, look how many people they are following, right? In addition to their contribution activity that you can see on their profile. Talent acquisition professional that constantly recruits for software engineers, I would highly recommend creating your own GitHub profile. Doesn't cost you anything, but once you're in it, you can see how data is processed and ingested and how these individuals are interacting on a regular basis. The alternative, and this is one that I've talked about before, is using the joined on or contribution activity word anchors. This will also include other things, and what we'll showcase that in what this looks like. Um, but these two things are also readily apparent and present on GitHub profiles. I can see when they joined and what their contribution activity is. Um, you can also see this, however, for topics, and so we're gonna talk about that. What might a GitHub search look like? Right, the top one, I'm using my following or followers anchor, right, for a location. Site github.com, New York, around 10 following. This number is a lot smaller than Instagram, and that's okay. They all work the same. You're not running into several posts like Instagram, and 10 seems to be the sweet spot for this one. You can always play around with that number, increase it, decrease it, figure out what works for you. But using that following or followers anchor and looking for somebody who specifies that they work on Java, Python, or JavaScript, you can see I had 144,000 responses, which is a lot. On the flip side, using site colon github.com joined on contribution activity, um, that or statement. And for those that don't know, the pipe in between joined on and contribution activity functions as an or statement. So joined on or contribution activity with Python or Java, and not in URL topics. And then you can see in the screenshot there, there's also New York. That did not translate in my putting together of the slides. Yielded 27,000 results. Ironically, both of these Google search the size of their data set is what we'll say. Um, but you can see that this is a simple GitHub search, but you're thinking strategically about what is constantly on a profile or what is not on a profile. Um, Repositories are not going to have joined on and contribution activity. However, GitHub pages for topics are going to have that. So we're going to talk about GitHub pages. GitHub pages are super cool. If you haven't explored this, this is something I highly recommend if you hire software people. Using github.io. If you've ever looked at GitHub, 90, I don't know, 95, I'm just shooting a number out there, but 95% of software engineers on GitHub will have a read.me repository. Whether they created it themselves, they forked it from somebody else, almost all of them have it, a read.me profile or a repository. The significance here is that every read.me repository created creates a github.io page for that individual. GitHub.io essentially acts as a free public deploying of your repositories, and the read.me's is essentially creating a resume that is free access for you. You don't have to pay for it. You can find them. Get creative in trying to find them. Some of the ways that I utilize it, because github.io is not just resumes, it is public deployed repositories. So any code in there uh, that is made publicly available will have a github.io page. And so utilizing this and looking for github.io pages that have gmail.com, or in the URL they specify resume or CV or whatever iteration of that you want to use, you're going to start finding resumes of software engineers that might not be on LinkedIn, right? Not to mention how many emails are these software engineers getting on LinkedIn all the time. Everyone's after top tech talent constantly. So if you're finding their resume on their github.io page, you see their phone number, you see their email address, and you send them a personal message and you say, hey, I saw your GitHub read.me repository. Went to the page, looks really good. I like your experience. I see these things. I would like to have a conversation with you about a role. That's going to be a whole lot more meaningful than an email from another recruiter or another talent acquisition professional that they haven't met before, that they don't know. They can see that you're doing your homework and you're really finding people. So GitHub pages, super, super cool. I cannot recommend enough exploring what those look like and different ways to use this. Uh, Now, reverse Uno time. We're going to reverse engineer. You might be saying, Chris, I can't seem to find the people for my projects. I've used every avenue. I've tried no title searches. I've tried finding these people based on various keywords or adjacent technologies, adjacent skill sets. How am I going to find these people? We're going to think outside the box, right? This is advanced X-ray. You just told Google what you don't want to see in Facebook. You just told Google what you don't want to see on Instagram, right? These are social media platforms where people exist all the time. Think the same thing with meetup groups, right? I can go and find these people where they live. I can use Reddit. Kbin is the alternative to Reddit because Reddit's been a dumpster fire for the last week and a half now. Um, you can find groups that specialize in the things that you're looking for, right? So start thinking outside the box and say, well, I told Facebook or told Google that I wanted, I was trying to find a software engineer in New York. I went through those. I feel like I just didn't have enough information. But maybe I'm going to go back now and I'm going to say instead of not in URL events or not in URL groups, I'm going to specify that I want that in the URL. I'm looking specifically for groups or events that are for software engineers in New York, right? Or I'm looking for tax accountants in the DFW area, right? Now you can go back and you're reverse engineering your search. What are these people doing? Where are they living? How are they registering it for events? This is a great way to go, right? Same thing works for LinkedIn. If you want to explore that, right? Reverse searching LinkedIn events. They happen all the time. I get so many invites to come and attend, the next webinar, the next event, hiring events, talent insight events. All of this stuff is on LinkedIn, right? Just like it's on Facebook, just like it can be on Instagram, where people are advertising for these things that they're going to. Tell the Google search engine to look for those things. Go there, find the people that are attending, that are registering, follow their sites, their pages back to their profiles. Start exploring, figure out, are they actually what you're looking for? Are they someone that's interested in learning more? Is there an opportunity to connect? The really cool thing about social media searching and why this is such an advanced X-ray approach is that you're now meeting people on a social level rather than a professional level. I can see who their friends are. I can see what their interests are. I can see what groups they're a part of, right? And now you can have a genuine bid for connection. You can say, "Hey, I saw that you attended the event for XYZ, in Columbia, South Carolina a couple weeks ago. I'd love to connect with you and talk about that. How did that go? I'm looking at doing something similar." Right? This allows you to up your sourcing game and to really connect in ways that other talent acquisition professionals are unable to do so. Um, so that's that's the reverse engineering. That's seeing where people are and working backwards from that point. Questions. I know I left plenty of time so that we can get in and practice this. Are there any questions here? Yes, Dan, let's do that. We're gonna go live here. We're gonna reverse engineer. Dan, what kind of professionals do you hire? Cloud sales. Okay. Um, Cloud sales. Wonderful. So we're gonna jump out. Let me find my mouse. I feel like I'm can only find it if it's moving. It's hiding somewhere between monitors. All right, here we go. We're gonna dive into this, right? So let's go site. We'll start with Facebook. We're looking for cloud and sales, and we're gonna go in URL groups or in URL events. All right. So we can see Sales Cloud. We're going to jump in here. Uh, I just broke my own first rule. We need to be doing this in incognito. I'm going to zoom my screen in because I'm notorious for making my screen too small. Okay, here we go. Incognito mode. Let's do this. Oh, And because it's an event, I have to log in. This is funny. So if you're looking at profiles, I'll show what that looks like here in just a minute. Um, if you're looking at profiles, it processes the information differently. Events, you do have to be logged in and not available. We're off to a great start here, guys. Let's see. And 2023. Cloud area craft and vendor sale St. Cloud. So we're probably talking location there. Salesforce marketing cloud. Salesforce info. All right. So facebook.com/groups. Salesforce info. It's public. So now I can go into here and go see people. I can see who the moderators are, admins. I can see who the individuals are. How long have they been there? Right. I can see there's 1,000 people here, so that they've got a lot going on. Maybe I want to check out what events that they hold. Benefits of Google Analytics for Salesforce, Salesforce Workshop. I can come in here. 15 people responded. So I'm wanting to see, hands-on practice. Oh, looks like my screen did not zoom in because I was on incognito. Let's zoom in, right? So this is what I'm talking about in reverse searching this. If I'm looking for someone who is experienced with cloud sales, finding events and Facebook groups that are going to match that. Cloud experts group, probably a good one to look at. 923 members as group community of IT professionals who are passionate about modern technologies on cloud software development. It's public, so let's start looking for people. And I can see all. I can see whatever they have in their headline here. Can you search further on these people? Search further is a great question. So searching further. Oh, wrong button. If I'm wanting to search, are you meaning search for who's already in here and use the platform to search, or search further on the people into the results? So I mean, I can find members here. If I wanted to find someone who, let's say that they're full stack. Oh, it's not pulling from headlines here. So at that point, what I'm going to have to do is kind of flip through here, see what their headlines work or headline work looks like. It's not the most efficient way. I'm telling you, right. Yeah, 923. Um, Enriching those people with additional data. So that would require separate tools. I don't know of anything off the top of my head that does this super well. Um, but really, what you're doing right is getting specific. Cloud experts group doesn't look like they're working on sales. These are individuals who are interested in cloud. Salesforce training and certification. Um, yeah. So then, getting more and more granular is what we're going to need to do. Um, Sales in 2023, and you are groups or events. We're gonna. This is probably my hiccup there. Yeah. So Dan, what happens at this point if you're reverse engineering your searches is you're finding the groups, you're finding the people, and then you start looking at those profiles, figure out what did they have in common, what am I looking at. So we'll come jump in over here. Joined 2 months ago. We're going to open up a few profiles. Let's see. Some people that joined a little bit ago. 8 months, 8 months. Let's find someone who's been in here for about a year. 11 months. All right, here we are, a year. Right, so we'll open a couple more. So when you reverse engineer searching, so now I'm coming in here, view main profile. I can see where they work. Located in South Africa. I can come to their about section, work and education. This is what Google likes to look at. So it doesn't have a lot of information here. I would then look up, companies, where are they at? Again, this is your really specific. If I'm doing this sourcing, my goal is to find specifically, 4, 5, 6 people at a really specific level. It's going to take a lot of searching. Might be a day's work to get that many people. Ash, great question. Within Facebook itself, I can search for cloud sales and filter by groups. Why go for X-Ray then? Uh, you know, I mean that's a really good question. Honestly, um, really, I operate in X-Ray. So since I'm already trying to find people in X-Ray, and can do so there, I reverse it. Um, Utilizing it this way, you've got a quick set of links, little descriptions. It's really up to you at that point if you want to use it for X-ray or not to find the groups or events. But for finding people, it's particularly useful. Let's see. Let's see what we can drum up. Oh, we were starting to look at these people. Um, Group posts. All right. So cloud sales. Yeah. So cloud sales in 2023, again, really just kind of building some foundations. Yeah, we can absolutely try LinkedIn. Oh, not groups. I need to take this out. All right. So linkedin.com, right? Start opening some of these things. We've got Pulse, exam questions. What are we looking at here? Exam questions, exam questions. Okay, not what we're looking for. All right. We've got associations, posts. Oh, geez. I do not know off the top of my head how LinkedIn does their events. Oh, this is a good sign, though. I'm not a robot, I promise. Native ads, live events. LinkedIn events. Okay, let's see what LinkedIn wants to tell me then. Okay. All right. Events. And we're going to go cloud and sales. All right. Live demo, rapid sales planning, build balance, optimize territories, cloud migration. So Dan, this is reverse engineering on LinkedIn, right? Site colon linkedin.com/events. Same concept as Facebook. You could look for past events within LinkedIn's their own platform. Absolutely possible. Uh, like I said, I really enjoy using X-ray. I ingest information at a much higher rate, but I can get a quick synopsis of what we're looking at, make sure that I'm finding what I'm trying to do uh, rather quickly, and dive in. I want to see, you know, who's attended these. So top sales questions answered, cloud migration 101, attendees. Oh, do you need LinkedIn Recruiter to see who attendees are on these ones? I don't know that. Speakers. The other way you could go about this is you start pulling up events. You see who the speakers are, figure out who's following, who's commenting, interested in the content that they are putting out. Um, is another way that you can do that. Yeah, it does not give you a nice way to look at attendees. Oh, that's right, Ash. That is what I'm running into. You can only see attendees for events that are yet to come. Um, yeah. But I can see the event. I can see, depending on the event, I can see who has liked it. Like, for example, this one. I can see who's reacted. I can see anyone that's commented. It looks like Mark hosted the event. Um, if I hit join, you can see the events. Oh, this is exciting. Let's find out. Oh, on future events. Okay, got you, Brittany. Yeah, so reverse engineering your searches, LinkedIn using events, really utilizing the URLs for what it is you're trying to find. Let's adjust this then and say upcoming. That helps us out. Nope. Since we're in June, let's put July 2023 and see what we're coming up with here. Event ended. That was July 2021 and July 2021. What about attendees that participated in a hiring event locally? A lot of that is going to be dependent on what data is available and who the host was, and if they make their registrants available to view outside of the event. Summer, with so much worry about protection of data and privacy, um, that one can get really tricky. But if you can find those, maybe I'll have to dive into that a little bit more and share that. Whoops. Um, Share that. But let's see, Luke, you said similarly with Facebook before. I'm curious about Instagram. Luke, let's dive into a little bit of Instagram. What is it that what kind of individuals do you hire for? Okay, currently sales. Great. We'll go Instagram.com. We're going to any location, auto sales in Milwaukee. Wonderful. Um, so we'll go Milwaukee. Following. We're going to go sales or let's do and auto. We'll start here. Nothing. Okay, let's see what we're running into. Okay. Southridge Mall, sales. So what we're seeing, these are looking like posts. Let's take a look. This is quite literally how I learn what's working or not. Yeah, post, post, post. All right, we're gonna get rid of posts. Not in URL. Uh, Sales. We'll do and auto or car or vehicle. And Instagram. I thought I was logged into Instagram. That's awkward. Let me log on to Instagram off screen. So password is not compromised. I literally don't use Instagram ever unless I am sourcing, which is not super frequently, but I source all the time. Sourcing on Instagram, not super frequently. Okay, let's see. So not quite the right thing that we're looking for. Oh, did I spell following wrong? That would be really funny. I did. There we. I've got a lot of advertisers, companies here, but I can see, owner, mechanic, vehicle dealer, car sales, um, Milwaukee Tools. Oh, interesting. Okay, so we might want to Megatar car dealership in Puerto Rico. Select auto parts, Milwaukee. Manchester is not Milwaukee. Located near Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we're gonna tweak that. We're gonna say Milwaukee, Wisconsin. All right. Close these down. Okay. Let's see what we're generating here. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Near followers. Not a person. Well, does their page. Chicago. Probably not in Milwaukee, but if we go into posts, we will probably see Milwaukee in one of these because Instagram gets real weird. All right. I'm curious as to where it's pulling Milwaukee from. Let's see. What else do we got here? Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Number one racing dealership. All right. Milwaukee. Is he selling his bike? All right. Okay. Let's see if we can find people that are obviously people. Repeat with admitted search results. If we get rid of the auto sales. Sneakers. shoes. Okay. So it does seem like the limiting piece here is the vehicles. So we're going to go auto or car or vehicle or truck is essentially what I just had. Um, oh, here we go. Sales rep at JX Truck Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So there you go, Luke. I mean, this it's not great. Instagram does not seem to be the place for a lot of these individuals. But if you were to drop the auto sales requirement and look at salespeople in general, that definitely seems to be trending all right. If we were to dive more into that, but on here you can see all this information. This is really the bulk of what I'm looking for if I'm searching on Instagram. Is do they list their location up near that followers following piece? Uh, you know, Sales rep at JX Truck Center. Um, yeah. So that's, I mean, in a nutshell, that's what Instagram sourcing looks like. As I said, with social media's sourcing is not necessarily the most time efficient, but it can be some of the most effective. This is for some real small batch individuals that I'm trying to make a genuine connection with, 4, 5, 6 people a day that I'm going to have a really personal outreach conversation with, to have a conversation, that's more than just a mass campaign outreach. Yeah, lots of other search terms. Really get creative. And this probably preaching to the choir here, but this is why having those conversations with your hiring managers is so important. And if they're giving you technologies or skill sets, and you're saying, "Hey, well, what else translates to this?" Um, some things are really straightforward. If they do sales, whether that's auto sales, that's software sales, whatever, the sales is going to be that piece, right? Where that we're going to see constant, but if they have specific technologies, softwares, skill sets that they use that have those translatable skills, making sure that we're utilizing those. Yes, Steve, it's always good to hear. Um, Questions. I mean, we explored some theory, we explored some practice. Um, we'll jump back in. Does anyone have any other questions? I know that was kind of a crazy one to try and find. Reverse engineering your search, whether you're doing that via X-Ray, or you're doing that in platform. The idea behind it is that you're thinking strategically. If you can't find the people because of your searches, whether you're using X-Ray search or not, are you going to locations where you're going to be able to find people, right? Looking for people who are interacting with events, or who are members of a group. Um, and even if it's reaching out to them and getting creative, if they don't fit what you're looking for, maybe they're in a location that's not right, but they're interested in a group that's located right. If we're looking auto sales, for example, Luke, maybe I've got someone who's located in Chicago, but they're part of a group on Facebook that is based in Milwaukee, and you could say, hey, your profile looks really good. I see that you're in car sales. You wouldn't happen to know anybody in Milwaukee that sells vehicles that might be interested in having a conversation about a new job, right? And networking that way, is another way that you can enhance that reverse engineer. So really, the idea behind this X-Pert X-Ray is: one, look for constants; two, look at your URL. Your URL is going to tell you a lot of things; and three, think outside the box. Get creative, because building Boolean is so much more than just plugging in a couple keywords and getting the search results that you want. Um, get into the weeds, figure out what works and what doesn't. But that being said, do we have any last questions? We're just about at time, because if not, we'll slip to one of my favorite slides here. I have to go. My fish need me. I am Aquaman. I still hold that mantle. I have my wonderful trident back here to back me up. But feel free to always connect. Like I said, slides will be made available. Recording will be made available. If you want to see more traditional X-ray, but applying some of more the advanced tactics and strategies, I'd be happy to share my advanced Boolean, advanced X-ray webinar. That one dives into more of the LinkedIn and GitHub with natural language searching, less of the social media platforms where the platforms aren't specifically built for professional interactions there. Um, Brittany, awesome. Have fun sourcing LinkedIn events. It can get kind of crazy, and again, making sure that you're seeing who's interacting, following those rabbit holes, having the conversations with them. If you can see who attended the events, ask them how it went. What did they learn? Engage in conversations. Um, awesome. Thank you everybody for coming. We'll hang out for just another minute. I need to stop the recording, or else it doesn't like to save the recording. It's weird.